all you amazing, sensitive, intuitive, empathic healers and people that interact with the world in a very different way. So today's topic is all about eating. It's your food. The holidays are upon us, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about food and how you can turn food that is normally unhealthy into your favorites and healthy for you. And it's not just about the calories and it's not just about the food content, but it's about the energy that's in them, right? Because when you're eating an apple, you're not eating the flesh and whatever else, you're eating the energy of the apple. So stay tuned to hear more. This is Anastasia. I used to be a physics professor specializing in vibrational and quantum physics. After recovering from a serious illness using energy healing on myself, the calling to heal became so strong that I had to quit my 40-year research career. I replaced my 6-figure professor salary within 5 months using a simple but not easy 3-step system that I worked out to grow my healing practice. Now I help other healers grow their practices, whether they're just starting or already have a practice, with this same 3-step system. I'm all about helping you too. Listen in to learn more. Thank you so much for coming back. So today's topic is all about food. And it's a sensitive topic because we all have favorites, we have family traditions, we sit down and share meals together, and those of you that have rough times with the other people that you're sharing it with, I've given lots of tips on how to deal with the family strife during the holidays. But today I'm just going to talk about the food specifically. And there are a huge number of ways to raise the frequency of the food you're eating. Remember, it's not the food you're eating, it's the energy of the food that you're eating. And there are ways that you can take your old favorites and actually make them better for you, right? And for example, some of my old favorites when I was young, I really loved baklava. Like I could eat the whole plate. It was so delicious with the cinnamony, clovey, honey, and the layers and the nuts. And, it's to me, it was Christmas every year all over and over again, right? So you can still eat those things, but you can make them healthier for you. So let me talk a little bit about the energy of the food and what I mean by that. So food that has been exposed to things like chemicals and pesticides, I call that a death energy, because pesticides are designed to kill, right? They're designed to kill insects and fungi and whatever else, right? They're designed to kill. So food that has not been grown organically, food that has been grown conventionally using chemical fertilizers and using chemical insecticides has a death energy in it and on it. And no amount of washing it off can wash away the death energy. You can transform that death energy, and I'll talk about that in a moment, but there's no amount of washing that will do it. And so it's better to get things that are organic. And why? Because first of all, it's better for the environment. And we vote with our pocketbooks and our wallets, right? So if we tell stores and establishments that we want organic food, they are going to bring it to us. It used to be that organic food cost about double of what conventional food cost, and now it's just a small fraction more. And there's good reason why, because you can't, in farmland, for example, you can't pack as much food into an acre as you can with conventional growing methods, right? So it's also more work intensive. So you can see that, the extra cost is justifiable. But I always tell people, it's important what you put in, because what you put in is going to help you last longer, so you will be healthier in the long run, right? So you can pay people now by buying really good food for yourself, or you can pay later when you get sick and you have to pay doctors. And you've heard me talk a lot about that, as how expensive medical care can be, even when you have insurance that covers most of it, right? And those of us that are over 65 in the United States, we have a really good medical insurance. I think everybody should have it, but we have really good medical insurance that does cover a lot, but it can't possibly cover everything. Okay, so let's talk about other things about food. So if you are able to measure the frequency of food, you will find that highly processed things like a McDonald's hamburger, like the meat has been bleached, it's from cows that are given drugs and hormones and stuff to help them grow and to help prevent them from getting sick, because they're being fed the wrong things. Like cows should not be eating grains, they should be eating grass, for example. So they have to treat the meat that comes, kinds of crazy things to the meat afterwards, and they're frozen into these little patties and distributed all over the world. So it's not very healthy. And then on top of that, if you look at the bread has preservatives. You could probably have it sitting on the shelf for a decade and bring it down and it'd still be okay, right? And all of the nutrients are pulled out of the bread, the grain, all of the fats, everything, and they sprinkle a few cheap vitamins in there to make it sound like it's fortified. Right? And all of these things are not particularly great. And then the other things is that you get pickles on there. I mean, it is a vegetable, but it's been pickled. It's not the greatest thing to have pickled food all the time. And of course, the ketchup, which is also pickled tomatoes with lots of sugar. There's, I think, more sugar in the ketchup than there is tomato. Anyway, so there you have, like, my opinion. The only thing good in a bun might be the lettuce, but if it's a iceberg lettuce doesn't have a whole lot of nutrient in it. You're better off having something like romaine. Okay, so there's my opinion on the very low energy of a hamburger. So now imagine that you get a grass-fed beef burger and you wrap it with lots of fresh vegetables, a slice of tomato, some romaine, and some other things. You wrap it up, you put a few really interesting herbs in it, and you can even put it between something that you can hold it with. Right? It could be a couple of slices of potatoes. It could be bread made with not just whole grain, but maybe grainless bread. You can get that now. And this will be a lot tastier and a lot healthier for you, right? And the frequency of that is probably 3 to 4 times higher, right? And if you can measure it, you can find that out for yourself. So I did a chart of the frequency of foods, and at the top, of course, is homegrown organic food. And why homegrown? It's not because the organic farmers do anything wrong. It's just that homegrown food has been handled more by the person that's growing it. And if you as a home grower are anything like my dad, he would always, like, we would come over to this particular house, we would come over to this house, and every time we walked away with a pile of lemons and cucumbers and tomatoes and whatever else he was growing, because he'd go, "Here, I have these for you," and he would hand it to us because he loved us, right? So the love is the important ingredient that moves the needle for raising the frequency of your food. So when we ate those lemons and those cucumbers and those tomatoes, I could envision my dad loving me by handing me those foods. And so the food just seemed to taste that much better, right? And that's because it was the highest frequency food available. And so if you go down the list, produce, organic produce, anything that's served raw, organic produce is the highest frequency. And the lowest frequency is the most highly processed, conventionally raised food. So you can go down the list, right? And you want to eat foods that are going to enhance your frequency. So when you take them in, they make you feel better, right? And I know that for a lot of you, traditional things that are traditional in the family, like for me, like I mentioned, is baklava, anything that's traditional that, brings back a memory. Like for me, it was the memory of sitting down with my family at our big Christmas dinner or even our Thanksgiving dinner and having baklava for dessert. And we were all around the table laughing and having fun with our stuffed bellies and enjoying each other's company. So that also brings the love back. And of course, the baklava was homemade, right? And sometimes even the phyllo dough was homemade, not very often. Mostly it was just that then we cracked the nuts and chopped them, and everybody played a role in making it. Then we mixed it with the sugar and the honey and the spices and, prepared it by brushing the sheets with butter. And so it was all made with love, and the love is the important ingredient. So let me give you a couple of tips besides what's in the food to help raise it. So first of all, by saying thanks and praying over your food raises its frequency, right? So you can just thank Spirit, God, whatever your higher power is, for that delicious food that you're receiving that's going to nourish and heal your body. That's number one. Number two is when you cook it or prepare it or put it on your plate, put it on there with a love for not only your family, but also for your own body, right? So that's number two for raising your frequency. And of course, the third way to do it is by chanting something like Om, which is the sound of the universe, over your food. It raises your frequency, the frequency of the food. And you can test it by first testing where your hand, right, you have your food here, and you bring your hand over the top and see where it stops. And when you chant Om at the food, you'll notice that it increases its energy, increases the field. And the bigger the field, the more energy that it has and that it can contain. So those are 3 tips to help raise the frequency of the food, aside from the actual source of the food itself and the preparation with love, right? So I hope that was helpful for you today, and that you'll remember to prepare your families get-togethers or your friends get-together meals with love and appreciation. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you so much for taking valuable time out of your day to listen in. If you found this message helpful, please help spread the word by giving the broadcast a thumbs up or a 5-star rating. Share it with your friends and be sure to subscribe to my channel with your notifications on. For further training on healing and growing your healing business using my 3-step system, go to www.highpaidhealers.com. And I'll see you in the next video.